What about Trio Azul? How did that come about? It's been around for a while.
I met Frank Mobus at Berkeley. I think we both graduated in '89, and he brought me to Europe for the first time then, and I really liked staying in Europe, and I think I've been here most of my adult life traveling versus living in New York, where I spend my other months of the year. Next year in '90 I think it was in '90, he introduced me to Carlos, who was studying classical bass in Würzburg. And he brought us down here for the first time to play Hot Club and another bar I can't remember. Carlos liked the danger of taking his songs, which were more, nice, almost romantic sometimes, and adding that edge to it, adding another dimension to color it in different ways without, destroying it or pushing it over.
I think it's safe to say that Last No Axis is your main vehicle now?
It's one of my main groups. I only have two that I'm directly leading, Last No Axis and this trio that's playing here in Lisbon. But I'm still playing with a trio with Nels Klein and Tim Byrne called BB&C, Uri Kane's projects, a band called Pachora, which plays Bulgarian music, old friends, a band called Endangered Blood, with more friends from Brooklyn and stuff, Chris Speed, Oscar Noriega, Trevor Dunn. So it's hard to say what main means, but as far as when it's time for me to write music, I'm writing for this piano trio and a Last No Axis. We just finished a new CD, which will actually come out on LP in March, so.
March.
Yeah.
You mentioned all those outfits you play with. I've listened to some, but not all of them. Like I've listened to Pachora, I've listened to the trio, and Last No Axis. But what sets them apart, you think, from each other?
Well, the only reason to make another project or even play in another project at this point, because there's such little free time to have a normal life, as one would call that. The music has to have a reason to exist, and I think in all those bands, there must be something unique about what we're doing compositionally, musically, the chemistry between the band. For example, Chris Speed's Yeah, No, and a Last No Axis, and Pachora, you change one person, you have all three bands. But we don't feel like that when we play together. The music calls the shots. So that's really the reason why it exists. We can just play with the same players sometimes because we're open-minded and able to hear different music. Or in the case of this piano trio with Elias Stameseder and today Chris Tordini on bass, that's an opportunity for me to write more jazz rhythm, jazz harmony, other strange rhythmic influences in a quiet setting. The opposite of Last No Axis, which is all rock sound and distortion. And even BB&C with Nels Klein and Tim Byrne, that's just a thrash fest, full on. And that doesn't really go there in any other projects right now. So it's important that that exists too.
you still have some swing in your music?
That's what this trio is about. For me, was the impetus to write something that was more jazz-oriented in terms of feel. What is jazz to me? If it, you know, a Last No Access isn't. I don't hear the swing in it. So I put the swing in this trio. It still is still made up of songs and different types of harmonies. They're pretty more jazz based. I wrote it all on piano. Alas, I write all the music on guitar. This trio, I wanted something not so literal, but still with, like, what can you do with swing rhythm that would expand it for me? You know, that is around that feel, around that vibe, but is not that. Exactly. It's someone else's music, you know? When does swing start to sound like swing? When does jazz not sound like jazz, or like what we want, you know, throwing around words like that? But to me, it's swing rhythm. It starts, that's all it is, really, to me. If you talk about jazz, you're talking about swing rhythm in all its possible shapes and forms. A lot of them we haven't even found yet, so there's a ways to go. We'll see.